U.S. Navy SEALs must rescue the Russian president, who has been kidnapped by a rogue general. Welcome back to Movies Explained. Today's film is an action thriller from 2018 titled Hunter Killer. A U.S. submarine called the USS Tampa Bay is cruising near Russian waters in the Barents Sea, silently following a Russian submarine called the Konek. The commander tells the crew to maintain range and stay behind the sub. The sonar team hears a loud explosion in the ocean. As the crew tries to figure out what's happening, the men on sonar notice that torpedoes have been launched at their ship from 600 yards away. The commander inquires if it was launched from the Konek, and the men respond that it was not from the Konek and was launched from directly above them. Before they're able to do anything, the torpedo strikes the ship. At the Pentagon, the military has been made aware that the USS Tampa Bay has gone missing. Rear Admiral John Fisk is told that they have been off the grid for 2 hours. He heads over to notify the Joint Chief of Staff, Admiral Charles Donegan, which happens to be discussing the problems the U.S. is having with Russia with 2 U.S. senators. Admiral Donegan is alarmed because there's classified systems aboard the USS Tampa Bay. Admiral Fisk is forced to remind him that there's also 110 men aboard. He suggests sending the USS Arkansas with Commander Joe Glass to investigate, since it's the closest submarine they have, which is stationed at the Foslane Naval Base in Scotland. Commander Glass is hunting in the Lochaber Highlands in Scotland and he gets the call. A helicopter arrives seconds later to pick him up. As the commander stands admiring his ship, XO Edwards arrives with his top-secret orders. Once Commander Glass sees the orders, he instructs XO Edwards to gather the men right away and get ready to board the submarine. The men are amazed to see the amount of firepower the ship is packing. The commander makes his rounds to make sure everything is in order and gets on the loudspeaker to deliver a speech before they head out. He lets the crew know that this is not a training exercise, that the USS Tampa Bay is missing in Russian waters, presumably sunk. He tells them that he expects their best on this mission. The crew is shocked to hear that it might be sunk. Back at the Pentagon, NSA agent Jane Norquist meets Admiral Fisk. She informs him that she'll be briefing the president in an hour and wants details about what's going on. Admiral Fisk informs her that there were 2 explosions at the Kola Peninsula. Agent Norquist is alarmed when she hears the location. She tells Admiral Fisk that the NSA has been closely monitoring the Russian President Nikolai Zakharin, and he was headed there before the explosions for a scheduled meeting with his defense minister Dmitry Durov. Agent Norquist believes something serious is going on and suggests that Admiral Fisk send a team out there so they can have eyes and ears on the ground. Out in the Vadot Desert in Tajikistan, a U.S. Navy SEAL team led by Lieutenant Bill Beeman is conducting training exercises when they are notified and given the orders for the mission. On the USS Arkansas, Commander Glass gives the orders and the submarine begins submerging underwater and begins its journey towards Russian waters. On the Polyarny Naval Base in Russia, President Zakharin's helicopter lands and he's greeted by Defense Minister Durov, who briefs him on the situation with the U.S. and escorts him away. On the Navy SEAL plane that's headed to Russia, Lieutenant Bill Beeman orders the team to place their dog tags and personal belongings in a box and warns them that if they get caught on the wrong side of the fence, they never existed. In the Kola Peninsula, the USS Arkansas is 40 miles away from the Russian coast. The crew inform the commander that they should be right on top of the USS Tampa Bay. The commander orders the deployment of the sea scan. After a short search, the underwater drone locates the sunk submarine. As it gets closer, we see the dead bodies of the crew floating inside the ship. As the sea scan moves on, the crew sees a giant hole that could only be caused by a torpedo impact. The commander immediately orders his crew to man their battle stations. He orders a message to be sent out to base informing them that the USS Tampa Bay was sunk by enemy action. As they're scrambling to their positions, the sonar crew picks up noise in the ocean. They begin cruising towards the noise to investigate when they hear different noise, this time coming from above. The Russian submarine, the Volkov, is hidden beneath an iceberg, hovering directly above the USS Arkansas. The Russian sub's commander issues the order, and torpedoes are launched in the direction of the USS Arkansas. The sonar crew immediately detects it and begins countermeasures while launching their own torpedo in search of the enemy submarine. The torpedo circles the area, but there is no sign of the enemy submarine. Commander Glass directs the crew to raise the torpedo search elevation higher. As the torpedo circles back higher, they spot the nose of the Russian submarine and direct the torpedo directly towards it, successfully striking it. The crew rejoices, but soon realizes that the torpedoes launched by the Russian sub are still heading their way. Commander Glass orders the crew to steer the sub directly down to the ocean floor. The crew thinks he's crazy but obeys. A few feet before impact, Commander Glass orders a sharp turn towards the sunk Tampa Bay and another sharp turn away from the ship, barely missing the ship but successfully causing the torpedoes to strike the sunk ship. As they collect themselves, the sonar crew notify the commander about more noise being heard on sonar. Back at the Polyarny Naval Base in Russia, a Russian officer informs the President and Defense Minister Dorov that the Americans have sunk the Volkov. Dorov suggests that they prepare for war, but President Zakharin wants to speak to the American president first. In the air, the Navy SEALs have reached their destination and begin parachuting down. Lieutenant Beeman notices that one of the men is unable to open his parachute and begins descending quickly, successfully opening his parachute, and they all land unnoticed and begin preparing for their mission. Back in the submarine, the team has sent the C-scan to investigate the noise being picked up by the sonar. The drone discovers a sunk Russian submarine. The crew believes that the Tampa Bay must have sunk it before being hit, but Commander Glass notices that the hole from the impact is outward, indicating an explosion from within. Commander Glass informs the crew that it was sunk by internal sabotage. Further investigation reveals that the noise on the sonar is coming from inside the submarine. Commander Glass issues an order for a search and rescue mission. The crew is strongly against it since they believe the enemy sub that sank their ship doesn't deserve to be rescued, but Commander Glass wants to interrogate the survivors. 2 sailors from the ship descend in the mini-sub and successfully connect to the Russian submarine, extracting the captain and 2 crew members, the Russian submarine's sole survivors. Commander Glass instructs the crew to treat the Russians for hypothermia and secure them as they are now prisoners of war. On the ground, the Navy SEALs arrive safely at their destination and begin monitoring the area. They stream the video feed by satellite to the command center and they begin identifying the people they're seeing. They spot the Russian President Zakharin and Defense Minister Dorov. They watch their movement, trying to figure out what they're up to. As President Zakharin watches the movement of his army, Dorov walks in with a bunch of armed men informing him that Russia is in imminent danger, that he's sealed off the base and shut down all communication. Zakharov is shocked. He tells Dorov that he didn't authorize any of this, that he must inform his ministers, parliament and generals about what's going on. Dorov replies that he's already done that, and he's also informed them Zakharin has been indisposed and in his care. Zakharin begins to realize that a coup is taking place. As he tries to walk out, the armed men draw their weapons on him and his bodyguards. As his bodyguards attempt to draw their weapons, Dorov's men shoot Zakharin's head of security. Dorov tells Zakharin that from now on, all orders go out from him. Zakharin is enraged. He tries punching Dorov. He tells him that he'll be executed for this. Dorov replies that they'll be at war by then, and everything else will be forgotten. As Lieutenant Beeman watches through his binoculars that's being live-streamed with the Defense Department, Dorov's men escort Zakharin's bodyguards to the pier and execute them and dump their bodies in the ocean. The United States watches live in real time as a coup is taking place in Russia. U.S. President Dover has an emergency meeting with her cabinet and generals as they try to figure out what to do next. Admiral Charles Donegan suggests that they go to DEFCON 2 and deploy their ships, stating that they must confront the Russian ships. Agent Norquist interrupts to remind everyone that they're not dealing with Russia here, rather a rogue minister. She suggests waiting, which angers Donegan, who believes that they must act now. She doesn't believe the Russians want war. Admiral Fisk steps in and suggests they extract the Russian president, using the Navy SEALs that are already there on site. After hearing everyone out, President Dover orders to go to DEFCON 2 and move the carrier fleet into position, but she wants to avoid a full-scale war, so she also authorizes Admiral Fisk's request to rescue President Zakharin. Back on the USS Arkansas, Commander Glass notifies the crew of the mission to rescue President Zakharin. XO Edwards is against the mission. He believes it's impossible and tells Commander Glass that the entire area is mined and covered with sensors and sonar fields. No matter how many precautions they take, it's impossible to get in there undetected. Commander Glass agrees and tells Edwards that they're going to need the commander of the Russian submarine to assist them. Commander Glass enters Captain Andropov's room. He begins by telling Andropov that they did not sink his ship. He shows him pictures of the explosion that shows the outward explosion. He tells him that they were not attacked but were sabotaged. Andropov is shocked but refuses to cooperate with the enemy. Commander Glass tells him that they are not the enemy is whoever sabotaged his sub and killed his men. He goes on to tell him about the coup that's taking place and about the mission to rescue Zakharin. Commander Glass tells him that they cannot do this without him. Andropov is still hesitant, so Commander Glass reminds him that he risked a court-martial to save his life. Back in Russia, and officer notifies Dorov that they've picked up an unauthorized transmission around the base. Dorov orders them to find it. Dorov's men head to the tower where the SEALs are hiding out, to investigate. They begin to scour the place looking for intruders. One of the men begins firing up on the tower, hitting one of the SEALs on the leg. Though in a lot of pain, he doesn't make a sound until the men begin to exit the area. Once gone, the SEALs begin treating his leg. He got lucky the bullet missed the bone. Lieutenant Beeman tells the SEALs about the mission to rescue and extract the Russian president and about the USS Arkansas that's headed their way to extract them. The men are surprised to hear the US submarine will be coming that deep into Russian waters. Back on the USS Tampa Bay, the ship is nearing the Kola Peninsula. As Commander Glass gives the crew his final words of encouragement, Captain Andropov appears, ready to help the crew. Commander Glass orders for XO Edwards to get the captain set up. Edwards is fiercely against giving access to Captain Andropov to classified information. He tells the commander that he will get court-martialed for this. Commander Glass promises to keep him alive so that he can testify. Captain Andropov takes a look at the monitor and shows the crew the path to navigate to avoid underwater mines. The USS Tampa Bay slowly cruises through the waters with the crew nervously waiting. They get to an area that has sound sensors. Commander Glass orders complete silence from this point. Down in the torpedo room, one of the bolts is not tightened all the way and begins to cling. The crew hurries to tighten it before they set off the sound sensors. As he finishes, he drops the wrench, which is caught by one of the men inches away from the floor. They get to a heavily mined area and Captain Andropov shows them an alternative route. Edwards believes they are being led to a dead end. He tells Commander Glass to look at the chart. Andropov tells the commander that their chart is wrong. They continue to cruise nervously, and everyone is relieved when the sonar crew confirms that there is an opening. The Navy SEALs jump in the water and start making their way towards the building where President Zakharin is being held. Once out of the water, they come across what looks like a dead body. Turns out to be Russian Presidential Security Service agent Oleg. He has survived the attack. He draws his gun on the SEALs, and after a brief standoff, both sides quickly understand that they're on the same team in this situation. The SEALs tell him that they're here to rescue President Zakharin and he offers to help. They climb the building and enter through the balcony and neutralize all three men inside. Once in, they blow the door into the room that Zakharin's being held. After a fierce firefight, they begin climbing down with the president. Oleg stays behind to hold them off, but he's gunned down shortly after, but not before pulling the rings off a few grenades and taking a bunch of Dorov's men with him. As the SEALs escape, one of them, Devin, is shot and killed. Aboard the Arkansas, Commander Glass dispatches two of his men aboard the mini-sub to pick up the SEALs and the president. The SEALs race towards the water to their rendezvous point as they're being chased by Dorov's men and a whole lot of firepower. They become pinned down with nowhere to go. Just as the men begin to lose hope, Martinelli, the sniper from the SEALs team, begins picking off the enemy one by one, from the distance. Lieutenant Beeman and Matt are able to rush the president to the coast. They jump in the water and swim down towards the rescue sub, but Matt is killed underwater from the barrage of bullets unleashed from Dorov's men above. Lieutenant Beeman gets President Zakharin aboard the rescue sub but goes back to save Martinelli. Dorov is informed that Zakharin got away. He becomes enraged and orders a complete lockdown of the waters. Inside the Arkansas, the sonar team hears noise and sees that there's a Russian destroyer right on top of them. Captain Andropov tells the crew that he knows that destroyer, that he trained the men on that ship himself. The destroyer begins firing on the Arkansas, forcing it to dive all the way down to the bottom of the ocean floor, causing a cloud of sand with the torpedoes landing right next to it, narrowly missing it. Back on land, Martinelli is chased down and pinned down with nowhere to go. Lieutenant Beeman arrives right as they were preparing to execute him and saves his life. On the Arkansas, the ship is leaking from multiple locations from all the explosions caused by the destroyer. A torpedo falls, pinning one of the men. As the crew helps lift the torpedo, the Russian destroyer hears the noise on their sonar and circles back to locate the USS Arkansas. Commander Glass is informed that none of their weapons are operational due to the flood in the torpedo room. Seconds later, the sonar crew informs him that the destroyer has locked on. Everyone on board looks hopeless. Commander Glass asks Captain Andropov to get on the phone and explain to the crew of the destroyer what is going on. Commander Glass believes the crew will be loyal to him. As Captain Andropov gets on the phone, he starts naming the crew one by one. He proceeds to tell them that he's on board the USS Arkansas with President Zakharin and to hold their fire. The captain orders his men to fire on the USS Arkansas, and one by one the crew decline to do so. The captain relays the message to Dorov, informing him that the crew refuses to fire. Dorov tells him that he'll do it himself and gives the order for ballistic missiles to be fired on the American sub. On the Arkansas, the crew has managed to fix the problem they had in the torpedo room and are now able to engage. Admiral Fisk calls Commander Glass and gives him authorization to engage, but Commander Glass knows that this will start the war that Dorov has been wanting. The missiles from the Russian naval base is launched and heading towards the USS Arkansas. The crew of the ship alerts Commander Glass that the missiles have been locked and they can launch their tomahawks and destroy them, but Commander Glass doesn't respond. The crew begins a 5-second countdown to impact. As the missiles arrive, they are gunned down by the Russian destroyer's close-in weapon system. The crew cannot believe what just happened. Seconds later, 2 missiles are launched from the Russian destroyer headed towards the Russian naval base. Dorov watches the missiles approaching from his window. The crew of the Arkansas are still in shock. They begin hugging and congratulating each other. President Zakharin asks Commander Glass how he knew that the ship would open fire and stop the missiles, and Commander Glass tells him that he didn't know, he hoped. Agent Norquist announces to everyone that Russia is back to taking orders from President Zakharin directly from the USS Arkansas. Captain Andropov shakes Commander Glass's hand and tells him that he has to get back to work. He tells Glass that he can't think of any captain that could have done what he did. Commander Glass tells him that he can and he's looking at him. Thanks for watching, like and subscribe for more videos.